Now that we have two branches, if we look at the list of branches again, we see that one branch is marked with an asterisk because it's the current branch. What does that mean concretely? I mean, how does Git know that main is our current branch? There must be some kind of information, probably in the .git folder, that says which branch is the current branch. Some kind of file, maybe, that contains that information. And indeed, there is such a file, and you probably know the name of this file already. If you look at the .git folder again, you will see a file named head in here. If you have experience with Git, this should ring a bell. And if you look inside head, then you will see that it contains a reference to another file. This is Git's way to reference files, this syntax. It's saying head is currently pointing at refs heads main, the file representing the main branch. There is only one head, so there is only one current branch. That's what head is, a reference to a branch, a pointer to a pointer, if you wish. Let's add it to the diagram and move on. So now let's change the files in the project. I will add the list of ingredients for the apple pie. Here, let me edit this recipe. I will just copy-paste the ingredients here. We don't have a full recipe yet, but at least we know what to buy at the grocery store now. Here, let me add this file to Git and commit it. Okay, let's see what just happened inside Git, step by step. Git created a few new objects in the object database for this commit. In particular, it created the commit itself. And this commit has the previous commit as a parent. Then Git looked inside the head file to find what the current branch is, and it moved that branch to point at the new commit. So the main branch moved, but notice that head itself did not move. It was pointing at main before the commit, it's still pointing at main. Main is moving, head is just coming along for the ride. So far we didn't touch the new ideas branch. Ideas is still pointing at the previous commit where it was when we created it. Now let's make ideas the current branch. We need to switch branch. That's an operation called git switch. We say git switch and name of the branch. One note about this, I already mentioned it earlier, but this is a good time to repeat it. There are two common ways to move to another branch. One is git switch and the other is git checkout. These two commands have different options and they are useful in different cases. However, when you use them to just move to another branch without any special option, like we're doing here, they work the same. You can say git switch ideas or git checkout ideas. The same thing happens. The only important difference is that switch is a relatively recent command. So if you are using an old version of Git, then maybe you don't have switch, and in that case use checkout. It works the same. I generally use a switch here to change branch because that's the whole reason why switch was introduced, to change branches. While checkout, we'll see later that it can also do other things. So switch is more specifically for changing branches compared to checkout, but they both work. So back to where we were, git switch ideas. When I do this, two things happen. The first thing that happens is that git changes head to point at ideas. There, now head is pointing at refs heads ideas. The second thing that happens is more subtle. Git just replaced the files and folders in our working area, the working directory, with the files and folders in this commit. So after the switch, our working area changed to the content of the commit pointed at by ideas. If I look at the content of the apple pie file here, the ingredients are gone. This is the previous version of the file. I'm sure this doesn't surprise you. I mean, this is what you expect when you do a switch, right? By the way, we will look at this process in more detail in a few minutes. So, that's what switch means. It means move head and update the working area. Now, let's modify the apple pie recipe again. I will paste in a variation on the list of ingredients. Almost the same list as we have in the main branch, but the version in the ideas branch also has cinnamon in the pie. And more apples, 10 apples instead of 8. Let's add these changes and commit them. There, tweaked apple pie recipe. Okay. By now we know what happens when we do a commit. Git created a new commit in the object database and it moved the current branch, ideas, to point at the new commit. Head didn't change. Main didn't change, of course, but ideas changed. Now it's pointing at the new commit. Now this looks a bit more like our intuitive notion of branches. But remember that branches are still just references to commits. That's all there is to branches, actually. Now let's see what happens when we merge these branches.